Hello guys, this is Aces here, and today I would like to clarify the difference between macroevolution and microevolution. A lot of people seem to be confused about the difference between microevolution and macroevolution. A lot of evolutionists say that macroevolution is the result of many microevolution. Now, I'm gonna clarify why that is not the case. Our DNA is like software. Well, technically speaking, DNA is software. Now, I want you to compare the DNA software with computer software. Let's take Windows 7 as an example. In the Windows 7 software, there are codes or instructions that make up Windows 7. Now, I want you to think of those codes as our genomes or genetic information. Now, here's a question. What happens when there's an update in Windows 7? The software obviously gets better. In other words, it gets better adapted. Now, the fact that the software gets better adapted or better or modified is the definition of microevolution. Microevolution allows variations in genetic coding. For example, if there was a small dog, then let's say a small dog that is black and white, then in the next offspring, microevolution will allow the dog to be purely brown or purely white or with different colors. The fact that the offspring receives different colors is microevolution. It is basically receiving genetic traits that are similar, not exact, from the parents. Now, the fact that the dog with different colors looks different than the white and black dog, that is microevolution. It is basically appearances that are similar but still in the same inherited spectrum. As a matter of fact, it doesn't really matter how the dog appears. The changes can be big or small, and the dog will still be the same dog, just different appearances. Now, that is microevolution. The dog is still the same dog. It is not a wolf. It is not a hyena. It's not anything. It's just a dog with different variations of genetic coding. The same thing applies to computer software. No matter how many times you change or mix the coding in the software, it is still going to be Windows 7. It doesn't matter how many times you try to optimize or change the coding, it will always be the same Windows 7 software. Now, that right there is microevolution. Just like a dog, no matter how big or changes the microevolution effect is, it's still going to be the same dog because the genetic coding allows it to be a dog. The software in the DNA is a dog, so it will always be a dog. Now that we have an understanding of what microevolution is, now we're going to go to macroevolution. Macroevolution, according to evolutionists, is the result of many microevolution. Now, I'm going to show you why that is not the case. When you say a fish can evolve into a reptile through microevolution, is like saying Windows 7 with enough updates can magically go to Windows 8 by itself. Now, that's a problem. Software doesn't magically go to a whole new level with enough updates. It needs brand new coding. Now, where do you get that from? If you think about it as computer terms, for example Windows 7, then if you want to go into Windows 8, then you need to go to a Microsoft store and install it on your PC. Now, the same thing applies to genetics. Genetics simply don't turn into something else. They just update or damage themselves according to microevolution, but they never increase new genetic information and become something else. Evolution in themselves are holding this magic belief that with enough updates, which is microevolution, will make a brand new species. Just like if you were expecting Windows 7 with enough updates to turn into Windows 8. Now, we all know that software cannot do that. Software cannot magically, create new codes and form to create Windows 8. It simply can't do that. In order to be Windows 8, just like in genetic coding, if the fish wants to be a reptile, then the genetic coding needs brand new genetic codes in order for the fish to be a reptile. The variations in microevolution does not allow the fish to evolve into a reptile because the genetic codes they either change or get damaged. They never add new genetic information regardless how many times it happens. You cannot make a genetic code of a fish and magically turn it into a reptile. It is strictly impossible and just wishful thinking. Not only do the codes need to be new, but they also have to be precise. Otherwise, the genetic code for the reptile will be in jeopardy or non-existent. Just like in Windows 7, if you mess up with the coding in the software, guess what? The software becomes useless. You can't use it until you fix the error going on the coding. The same thing applies to genetics. If there's a slightly error in coding with a new species, then guess what? It's going to become non-existent or in jeopardy. That's how precisely genetic codes have to be in order to form a new species. You need new genetic codes, and the genetic codes need to be precise. Otherwise, it won't work. Alright guys, well that's the end of the presentation, and I hope you understand now the difference between microevolution and macroevolution. And if you have any questions, concerns, please let me know in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.